And we are live. Welcome to the NBA Strategy Show. It is Monday, December 9th. I'm Josh Engleman, and I'm here to break down one game. Not because I only want to break down one of the slate, because we only have one. New York Knicks in Toronto, taking on the Raptors, 7:30 tip. And that's all we have for legitimately reasons that make very little sense. I can't figure out why this exists. It's annoying for us, but we're going to break it down either way. And it's going to be a weird next week and change. Today, we only have one game. Tomorrow, we only have two games. The quarterfinals of the NBA Cup. Wednesday, only two games. Quarterfinals of the NBA Cup. Thursday, we only have three games on Thursday, two 7:30s and an 8. That's actually a pretty fun slate in a way. I'd like it to be slightly more games, but at least they're packed together. Friday, we're back to normal. We have an 8-game slate. And then it gets weird again. So next week, 6-game slate on Monday. Okay. Not the most fun times. 7, 7:30, 7:30, and then a 10 and a 10:30. But then we have the final of the NBA Cup on Tuesday of next week, and then no games on Wednesday the day after that. So over the next 2 weeks, we have a Wednesday that has no games, a Tuesday that has one game, a Monday that has one game, Tuesday and a Wednesday that have two games. We are limited in our NBA options over the next sort of 8, 9, 10 days, which is fine. Sometimes you want a little deep breath when you can get it, but it is going to limit us in the amount of DFS we can talk to a degree. It's certainly going to limit us in the amount of sports betting that we could talk about. But why one game today? That's what I don't understand. Why Knicks Raptors? So just so I understand this correctly, because this game was scheduled. So if the Knicks and the Raptors both made the quarterfinals, they would have played today and then, I assume, would have been forced into the Wednesday games. I mean, in theory, what was their plan if the Knicks and Raptors were on opposite sides of the East? Like, what if they didn't play each other in the Cup and the Knicks were the 1 seed and the Raptors were the 4 seed? Like, the Knicks play on Wednesday now. What was the plan if the Raptors had to play today or play Tuesday? They were going to set the Raptors up on a back-to-back in this scenario? I don't understand. I don't understand any of what they're doing. We're going to break it down either way. Hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell so you know when everything goes live. Follow me on Twitter at Josh Engleman. It's going to be a pretty thin week for Only Dogs. I've got it pulled up. I'm waiting to see any potential plays show up for Only Dogs, but I think Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday is going to be pretty limited. Probably see a lot of like hockey and random stuff. Trevor, glad you're here. So I pulled up the injury report to start, just so we could see where we're at. Nothing too crazy. If I remember correctly, sometime in the last few days, I saw that Mitchell Robinson is starting to get himself back, which I'm really intrigued by. Look, I like Mitchell Robinson. He's a good defensive center. Can dunk, but not the above the rim threat that he used to be. I feel like people think he's going to be this panacea coming back from the Knicks, but what do you guys think that rotation starts to look like? Does that become like some Towns at the 4? How much does Precious Achiuwa play? Does Towns stop playing at the 5? A lot. And we get 20 minutes of Achiuwa, 20 minutes of Robinson, 8 of Mitchell or of Towns in the future. I don't know. Intrigued by the Knicks because these guys just don't play anybody else. It's really crazy. Even when people are out, they're just like, nope, we have 8 guys. We'll figure it out. We're not adding new people until we have to. Now, for the Raptors, they got Kelly Olynyk back over the last couple days. Bruce Brown is working his way back. We're still waiting on Emmanuel Quickly. But the Raptors are getting healthy, too. They're only missing 2 of their rotation pieces at this point after a while. Steven, I would imagine Hart would be the guy that goes to the bench. I think we're going to be looking at Brunson, Bridges, Anunoby, Towns, question mark. And it all sort of comes down to how Tibbs sees this. I mean, we're pretty like Mitchell Robinson playing real minutes isn't close. Like even when he comes back, that you would think is going to take a bit of a ramp up. But like it's the Precious Achiuwa piece that makes me most sort of intrigued, I guess would be the right word. Because it's not like Precious Achiuwa is like that guy. I don't know. I'm really curious what they're going to start doing for him. You guys want to? I can touch on Juan Soto to the Mets very briefly since chat's talking about it now. I don't care. Congrats to Juan Soto. I mean, the only thing that I care about is the fact that Juan Soto just signed a contract for $700 million. That makes me very happy. That's what I like to see. So kudos to Juan Soto. I like it. I don't know. It's baseball. It's baseball. I'd like to see, like, ultimately, I would like to now see this fail for the Mets. I kind of like it for everything. I like the idea of the Yankees feeling like failures. I like that the Mets got him, and I hope it becomes a failure. And I like that Juan Soto got money. I hope that players get as many millions as they could possibly acquire. So it kind of worked out for everything. The only way that it'll suck is if the Mets win a World Series, because I don't want that for sure. Tibbs always prioritizes defense first. Well, at some point in time, they're going to have to prioritize defense because that's their problem. Offense, they don't have any problems right now. That offense ain't going anywhere. Do the Mets have the same team? What does that mean, Jeremy? Let's see. Do we have projections up yet? We do not. We do not. Let's look at the most recent rotations for the Knicks and for Toronto. Let's scoot that this way. Probably bump that up one. Oh yeah, now we're good. Perfect. All right, so Knicks. We'll just look at what their rotation has been lately. And that's kind of the interesting part because we have Cam Payne questionable and we have Karl Anthony Towns questionable. And Towns and Payne both missed the most recent game. Payne's missed the last 2. But we saw Towns out on Saturday. We ended up getting 28 minutes out of Precious Achiuwa. They actually went to Huck Porty a bit more than they went to Sims. But they kind of just sat on everybody else. Like Payne was out. At no point we're like, oh, okay, maybe we should play more people. Now, 38 to Bridges, 39 to Hart, 39 to Anunoby, 44 to Brunson. McBride seems to just be sitting in that like 26, 27, 28 range. But this was interesting. Seeing Precious Achiuwa play 28 minutes means that you know he can play 28 minutes. But they just parked everybody else and just went harder. So, like, if they end up out again, then yeah, we're going to be paying pretty close attention to Precious Achiuwa, who I would imagine doesn't exactly have like a really difficult salary to get to on DraftKings. Yeah, I don't see McBride as sneaky. McBride's like just McBride. I would argue that McBride is like the easiest guy to look at. Let me look at the salary here on Achua. 7,200 on DraftKings. Holy shit. Captain salary, obviously. 4,800. Okay. Wow. So Precious is $400 more expensive than McBride. That's sort of the problem here. Value in this game is going to be tough to hunt down, depending on who's in and out. Whose spot did Soto take? I don't know. Whoever's. We also saw, if we want to look at the Toronto rotation from the last game, now that Kelly Olynyk is back and Grady Dick is back and playing the Grady Dick minutes that we're used to, we saw Chris Boucher leave the rotation. So Boucher had been playing like 15 minutes a night. As of Saturday, Chris Boucher played 0 minutes and left the rotation, as did Jamal Shed. Jamison Battle basically did. They have now a 9-man rotation that they seem like they sat on with Barnes, Hurdle, Barrett, Dick, Akbaji, Mitchell, Jacoby Walter, Mogbo, and Olynyk. That appears to be the 9 guys, and it looks like the 10th guy would be Battle if it becomes 10. In theory, it could be a little bit more Chris Boucher, depending on how far you want to slide Scotty Barnes down. But it looks like the Raptors are starting to lock down this rotation. And with Bruce Brown coming back soon, one of these guys is likely going to get trimmed. You would guess that's probably Mogbo at that point. That would be my guess when Bruce Brown comes back, that Mogbo takes a back seat, at least until the deadline. Wouldn't be surprised. And then when Quickly gets back, that will likely... What is a bigger deal to the New York area? Juan Soto to the Mets or the return of Chi-Chi's? Chi-Chi's, salsa, got a something. What was that jingle? Chi-Chi's, salsa, got a... What was it? Oh, it's Can't Get Enough. That's not how I remember it. Chi-Chi's, salsa, can't get enough. I think I got it. I didn't know they came back. Jay Neville. What kind of... Are you part of Big Chi-Chi's? How do you know this information? Back how? Like they're making New York restaurants of Chi-Chi's? That seems less than appealing. Do not clip that singing. Give me 1 second. I got to send a DM. Yeah, do not clip that singing. I probably went to Chili's when I was little, but I don't really remember it. I don't know where it would have been for me when I was a kid. Wasn't close, I don't think. I'm gonna sneeze. Man, morning sneezes are the best. It's like injecting coffee. It's good. All right, so let's take a look at salaries for today, if we can. So I got DraftKings pulled up salary-wise, still waiting on projections. But most expensive guy for today, at least on DraftKings, is going to be Scotty Barnes at 11.4. Then you get Towns at 11.2. You get Brunson at 10.6. You get RJ Barrett at 10K. And then you have the relatively big drop down of $1,200 to Jake Puddle. And then you get Josh Hart at 8,400. Olynyk at 6,600. Don't anticipate too many people getting to that price point. Grady Dick at 6,400 looks pretty interesting. Obviously, Precious. I think McBride is going to end up being really popular just first glance, assuming everybody's in, obviously. But like, where do we go for value? We've got Jacoby Walter at 3,400. We've got Mitchell at 2,800. That's kind of it, though. Like, assuming Towns plays and assuming Campaign plays, I think Davion Mitchell at 2,800 is sort of the floor. I mean, you definitely have zero confidence in rostering Hukporti or Sims. Battle played, what did I say? 4 minutes? Yeah, 4 minutes last time out. When did he play those minutes? That's a more important question here. So let's change the size of this stuff so you guys see what I see. Oh, I can't even shrink that any further. Okay. Gonna have to be one less. Okay. So, Battle played the final 8 seconds of the first quarter, got a 4-minute stint in the second quarter, and then they just shut it down. No one else played in the second half aside from the 9 guys ahead of it. So I don't feel great about Battle. And there's nobody below that. Toppin, Dottier, Ryan, Cole. Like, none of these guys play. So it's going to be really hard to get a lot of these 10K guys. Like, getting 2 of them might not be the easiest thing we do. Jeremy, it wasn't brain gymnastics. I don't have a damn clue who's on the Mets. You think I pay attention to baseball? I don't know who he replaces. Darryl Strawberry? How the hell would I know? I couldn't name 4 more Mets. I could definitely name guys that used to be on the Mets, but I don't know shit about the baseball right now. It'll take me till June before later than that. I won't know baseball till July. I don't know. He could be the DH for all I know. I have no idea who's on the team. Is Pete Alonso still there? Jose Reyes? I have no idea. No clue. No clue. I couldn't even tell you who's on the Braves now. And that would be the only team that I would be able to have that answer for. Yeah, no clue. It's baseball. I don't give a shit. I just care about whatever the batting order is on that particular day. Baseball is the sport you don't have to pay attention to in any way to play DFS. More than anything else. You'll be right back in baseball mode mid-May when you roster 83% Jordan Hicks. Probably. By the way, tonight, schedule. Let's hit that now. We've got, because it's a little different today. So NFL Strategy Show with Laffy and Gajeski will be at 10:15. The deeper dive and live before lock are both going to be 45 minutes today, not an hour. So we're going to start the deeper dive at 6 o'clock. Myself and Spags are going to go for 45 minutes. Then Greg and Eric are going to go for another 45 minutes from 6:45 until 7:30. That is when lock is for tonight. At 7:30, then you'll get Lofty and Gajeski for round 2 NFL showdown leading up to Monday Night Football. Yeah, shouts to Juan Soto getting that bag, man. Hopefully he stays healthy enough to opt out after 6 years and get even more money. Seems unlikely, but that'd be cool. All right, who do you guys like to pay up for today? We've got Barnes, Towns, Brunson, Barrett. They're the 410K guys. Who do you guys have your eye on? Give me 1 second, guys. You guys want to build some lineups? Barnes. All right, let me hit all these. We got a bunch of answers here. So let's hit them and then let's build some lineups. So we got Barrett, Brunson, Barrett, Barnes, Barrett. Okay. So not Towns once, which I think is interesting. Let's line this bad boy up and let's get started. All right. So we'll go there. We'll go there. All righty. Let's build some lineups. Because you know who I am. I am the czar of the single lineup sim. Nobody does it better than me. Nobody. Precious scares me to play Towns tonight. Why? You think they're going to play Precious over Towns? I'd go ahead and get that one out of the head. All right. So it's 33% to first in the large field contest for tonight. So I'm going to lock in 35 here. Let's build a lineup. Okay. So based on our projections, Towns is the highest owned guy, especially at captain. That's interesting that nobody said Towns, and he's the nut captain play right now. 25% owned. Barnes is 12, Brunson 7.5, Barrett 6.5, Jake Puddle actually 12.5. So I think pretty clearly we're not going to go Towns captain to start. And as I see it, I think the answer is Scotty Barnes. So let's see what happens if we get Scotty Barnes in. Also, let's get our sticky note on the screen too. So we'll get projection, ownership, ROI. There we go. Hide that bad boy right here. All right, so we got Barnes in now. Who do we have as the true best value options? Davion Mitchell, Towns, and Hart. are the three main guys here. Now, admittedly, the Davion Mitchell piece scares me a little bit because he's not very good, but he's playing 25 minutes a night. I'm going to go with that value. Now, I think that I'm only going to take one of Hart or Towns here. McNasty, because that's not how any of this works. Let's see what happens if we go Hart and we end up a little bit more balanced. I would also like to find a place where we can shave some ownership, but that's appearing to be tricky. Like Jamison Battle's pulling 10% already at 1,200, and he's going to play like 5 minutes potentially. So I think McBride has to go in there. And that leaves us 8,600 for the final two guys. So maybe we will be able to get Towns. But if we take Towns at 11,2, that leaves us 6,100, which blocks us out of Grady Dick and then puts us sort of in no man's land. Let's just see what happens if we take Towns. Towns gives us 6,100 to play with. The best guy that we can get at that point is Akbaji. And I don't hate it. I do hate the 3-3 if I do it. Kind of makes me want to go to Precious more. And in fact, let's just see what the impact is. So let's think about it like this. If we go to Akbaji, we leave 500 on the table. We have the same projection as Achua. We spend more money and we take on more ownership. So my guess is that the Akbaji lineup will look better by like quite a bit than the Precious lineup. And let's detail out why. And let's look at it right now. So this projection with Precious, 198.26, ownership, 218.76, ROI. Let's find out. But I fully expect when we switch this off of Precious to Davion Mitchell, we will make the ROI go up. Okay, so there we go. Negative 9.8 when it's Precious. My guess is that by putting in Davion Mitchell, by putting in Ochai Agbaji, this will now get better. So we only went up by 0.9 of a point, but we cut ownership by like 6%. This will probably get just north of 0. Is my assumption. Okay, not even. Not even. So negative 4.5. Does make me think that we're going to look outside of Scotty Barnes. But now we know our thresholds. Now we know where projections and ownership need to be. So let's explore the captain ownership and see if that's the place we can get a little bit more unique. And right now, I think the answer is Bridges. 5% owned. Sort of your best available option that isn't one of the 10K guys. Josh Hart could be that answer. But let's see what happens if we go Bridges. Now, if we go Bridges, that makes it very easy to go to Towns. I think it's very easy then to go to Hart. My assumption is we have enough for Scotty Barnes. And now we have 7,900 for the final two guys. If I go Mitchell, I have 5,100 left and can take McBride. 700 on the table. What does this look like? So now, this new lineup does take on 20% more ownership, but it also grabs 4 extra fantasy points. I expect this to be positive. But now, to me, I'm taking on too much ownership, and I'd like to shave that somewhere. Wow, still negative 13. Okay. We're going to maintain this Bridges captain spot. But now we need to think a little bit differently about our relative ownership and projection. Like, to me, Precious has to be there because of his ownership, but he's so not projected good. Maybe it's got to be like, oh man, there's just no place to free up ownership here. There's no place. Bro can't quit Davion? What? It's the best projected value play on the slate. I don't give a shit about any of these guys. He's just eating so much ownership that I think almost honestly getting away from him is the easiest thing to do. What happens if we go Campaign, Josh Hart, Scotty Barnes, Miles McBride? That still leaves us enough for Towns on a 5-1. 201.50 and 225. Yeah, this is still going to be pretty low. We're having trouble finding what we want here. Yeah, there we go. There we go. That makes sense. We're starting to trim the ownership in the way that we want to, and now we have one that lands. 45% ROI, 201.50 projection, 225.60 ownership, 45.4 ROI. Now we're getting here. But we can do better than this. I think there's a way that we can increase projection and lower ownership. So let's walk this back. It might be by getting away from Barnes, oddly enough. But the problem is the value difference between Barnes and Barrett enough to make up the ownership difference between Barnes and Barrett? And that's what I think we're going to find out. So let's get Barrett in. I'm also going to get Brunson in. That's a name we haven't clicked on yet. At that point, I think we can get McBride. That leaves us $7K per person for the remainder. Josh Hart gets me another Nick, and now I have 5,500, which does get me Precious Achiuwa here. Now, think about how different this is. We just shaved 12 fantasy points, but we also shaved 38 ownership points. I expect this to be negative. I think we gave up too many fantasy points, but we're going to see that in a second. I'm starting to think that having two of those sub 20 projected guys like McBride and Achiuwa, yeah, see, I knew this. We're way off the mark. 189.5 here is going to be way short of what we really need. Actually, can I shorten this? Okay, good. Now you guys can see the bottom too. That'll help. So this makes a lot of sense to me. And I think it's because of this McBride Precious combo. So how can we best grab as many fantasy points as possible for our final $1,800? I think it has to be Hart. And that leaves us 9,900 total. And that's where we start to get into trouble. Like, I couldn't even take Jakob Poeltl if I wanted to. Maybe it's not Hart. Or maybe it's not Brunson. Maybe it's Hart. Maybe it's Jake Puddle. And that leaves us 5,800 per person. See, this is the issue here now with this game. There's not really a middle tier. $188 and $174. Yeah, like I expect this to be pretty negative as well. Akbaji captain. I'm guessing I couldn't build a good lineup with Akbaji at captain in the best case scenario. Yeah, negative 45. All right, let's do it. We know our thresholds. We know where we need to get positive. Let's do the Akbaji captain, which I believe is like one of the worst plays we have. Yeah, unowned, too expensive. He's basically the worst play that you can put at captain. So let's see if we can salvage that in any way. So we're going to have a lot of salary. That much we know. Which means Towns is probably going in. And honestly, Barnes is probably going in. If we take Mitchell and Jake Puddle, that leaves us a full spend, 50K. Look, this is going to be good, I think. We might have just actually found a good Agbaji play at captain. Because we're only giving up 6 fantasy points, but we did shave 16% of ownership. This is going to be positive, I would expect. McNasty, there's no such thing as good plays or bad plays like that. Wow, negative 18. No shit. Really? Huh. All right. The problem here is that I don't know where we find additional fantasy points. We kind of took the best value plays that we can find with an Agbaji captain. Towns, Hart, Barnes. Do you got to like punt after that? Because that doesn't make a ton of sense. $194, $197. I'll take a look at it. Let's see what we end up with here. And guys, hit that like button. These are my favorite shows. Still big negative. I'm not entirely sure we can hunt down an Ochai Agbaji captain lineup that works to me. Now I'm getting McBride captain, Anunoby captain, Achua captain, Pirtle captain, Hart captain. Thanks, guys. 5 straight different dudes. 5 straight different dudes. Who do I think is the realistic best non-pay-up captain? That's the real question. Let's try McBride. Let's try McBride. Now, if we're going McBride, in my mind, we don't want to go to Jalen Brunson. Although that is an interesting way to build some like different correlation in a lineup like this. But it seems like we can get Towns and we can get Barnes in that scenario. It feels like Bridges is probably next. Honestly, we might be able to get Anunoby here too. And Agbaji? Shave ownership, 194, 199. Probably too low in projection. Probably too low in projection. We really need to get into that like 198, 190. Yeah, we got to get in that 198, 199 range. I think what this is telling us is that we need the upper level of projection. We're having trouble making back what we lose for not having Towns, Barnes, and to a lesser degree, Brunson. Brunson captain. Now I like McBride here. Puddle. Bridges. Mitchell something. Oh, yeah, that ain't it. Because if it's Mitchell, Hart, Bridges? Oh my God, we're leaving 2,300 on the table here? That ain't it. So if it is Bridges, then it's Precious. 193, 196. Yeah, we're just gonna be too low here. What is the path to like 200 fantasy points here? Negative 18 again. All right, let's go with some of them that have been dropped in here. Rusty. McBride, captain. If you guys did the work before this, I'm going to be mad, but I kind of just want to talk shit on everything you guys give me. Towns, Barnes, Barrett, OG, Mitchell. 198, 227. I mean, it's not going to be 45. It'll probably be, yeah, negative 30. Back to the drawing board. Rusty. Barnes, OG, Grady Dick, Davion Mitchell, Towns, Miles McBride, 198, 225. Chris Sikosi, I think you're going back to the drawing board here. Chris Sikosi, back to the drawing board. All right, Jose Morales. He wants Jake Puddle in the captain spot. Let's do it. Let's get Brunson. Let's get Towns. Let's get McBride. Let's get Bridges. Let's get Mitchell. Yeah, I'm going back to the drawing board here, too. I took on more ownership. Jose, that one didn't work. All right. Just a bunch of X's. I'll blow yours up, too. And then I'm going to build the real one. Because I can see it already. Nobody's coming to me with it. Barnes. Barrett. Mitchell. Pirtle. Akbaji. Bunch of X's. I think you're going to end up with the lowest one of all. Yep, negative 30. Back to the drawing board for you. To travel without orders. Towns captain. Brunson. Hart. Anunoby. Davion Mitchell. Jacoby Walter. 199 projection, 216. This might be the best one we've seen so far. To travel without orders. This will be the best one anybody in chat's provided. Still negative 20. Wah, wah. Try again. Cat. Barnes. Hart. Bridges. Davion. Campaign. Could be okay, NBA fan. Could be. Won't be horrid. Not going to be good. Not going to be good. NBA fan, back to the drawing board. Negative 57. That's the worst we've had. That's the worst we've had. So let's think about it like it's an equation. We have Karl Anthony Towns projected for 25% ownership in the captain spot. And we have Scotty Barnes projected for 70 fantasy points in the captain spot at half the ownership. Now, this is where you can start to see the differences. For all intents and purposes, we can say that Towns and Barnes have the same projection at captain. This is basically the same. This is not where we're saving anything. But we are saving it in ownership. And then this is where the gap happens. We drop 8 more points to Brunson and 7 more to Barrett. This is where the gap is happening and why we're failing. I can say this much. Jake Puddle in the captain spot is definitely my least favorite guy. I think the path to the best possible lineup has to be Scotty Barnes because we don't give up the projection. We do save the ownership. So I think it has to be Barnes if we want to try to unlock the best thing we can. Now, the goal here is acquiring as many fantasy points as we can. And this is where this middle tier is really starting to hurt us. I think Josh Hart has to go in because of his salary. And I think Miles McBride has to go in because of his salary. But McBride might need to become Mitchell. We need to find the best possible spot to shave ownership, but not lose too much on the value side. I actually think that it might be Campaign over Mitchell. And now we just try to acquire fantasy points in the best possible way. We have 8,400 for the final two spots. If we take Towns, we're left with 5,700 and Akbaji. Is that the same one we had earlier? 197 and 198. See, that's going to be too low. I don't think that it can be Towns. And if it's not Towns, and it is Jake Puddle, that leaves us 8,100 to get Bridges. I don't think that's it. So maybe it's not Puddle. Man, could we go full backcourt? Brunson, Payne, McBride? That gets us to 191. Ew. Yeah, it might not be Payne. These three I feel really good with. Barnes, Hart, McBride. Figuring out the best three-man combo of those guys is where I'm at in my mind of like, what is that path? The real problem here is the lack of anybody in like the 6K range that's worth value. Like if we go to Grady Dick, we have 6,800 left for two people. Can that be Pirtle Bridges? Oh, it can't, but it's so close to it. What do we miss that by? Oh, no, that's not even close. What am I talking about? If it's Payne, it could be Pirtle. But that's 190. That's terrible. It seems like Davion Mitchell needs to be the guy so that we can pay up for two more 8K guys. This isn't it. I'll tell you what right now. If Towns and Campaign are both in, I think this is a really difficult showdown slate. Yeah, we can get there. There's got to be a better combination of Mitchell, Pirtle, Bridges. There just has to be. Mitchell, Barrett, Dick? Nah, we're giving up way too many fantasy points now. I'm starting to believe that Scotty Barnes out of the cap. Yeah, look how bad that is. I'm going to try one where we have Scotty Barnes, but we're going a different captain. This is the hardest I've ever had it. Jeremy, he's the number one value play on the slate. He's going to be the most important thing we put in here. I don't know how we make up the fantasy points if we go to Barnes. I really don't. I really, really, really don't. But if it's Josh Hart and then Barnes, and we maintain the Davion Mitchell value, 7,700 for three guys. McBride, Pirtle, All right, we can upgrade McBride. If I go Bridges, what can McBride be? 7K. Can be Dick. 197, 219. This one's not going to be bad. It's going to be positive. Wow, it's still not positive. Unbelievable how hard this is. Truly unbelievable how difficult this is. Towns, McBride, Payne. That's Dick again. $4-2 Knicks. This is my favorite tool in the world to use. Oh my God, we're negative 30 again. What is happening to the Czar? I can't hunt it down. That saved my life. I'll try a couple more years before we get out of here. Let's see. Precious Captain. I could pretty much tell just out of the jump what this one's going to be. Barnes. Bridges. Hart. McBride. Towns. Ivan got Yokes. I think you're going to have an okay one here. I think you are. Up and around 200, 210 ownership. This should be in the 20s or 30s or 40s, somewhere there. 70. We hit the nuts, baby. Let's go, Ivan got Yokes. Let's go. Let's go, baby. We finally got one. Chat, thanks for waking up. All right. Michael Martin. Josh Hart, captain. Scotty Barnes. Jake Puddle. Towns. Payne. Mitchell. 204, 205, and 234. Michael Martin, you have a shot to beat Ivan here. Ooh, 35. Okay. 2 travel without orders. Barnes. Cat. Brunson. McBride. Mitchell. Jacoby Walter. 200 and 225. This one should be okay as well. At least positive. We're getting there, guys. We're getting there. Oh, negative 20. Got to be honest with you on this one, too, Travel. I liked that one on the build. Corey. Corey's got Barrett, captain. This one's going to probably be awful unless this breaks in a way that I'm not expecting. Hart. Grady, Dick. Yeah, this one's going to be pretty bad. 186.5, 177. Corey, I think you might have a new leader in the clubhouse of lowest ROI. Maybe I'm wrong. The ownership got cut, which helps, but that projection is death. Negative 20. Okay. Not as bad as it could have been. All right. Final one. 20 Stang 00. Hart. Towns. Barnes. Anunoby. Mitchell. McBride. 204.5, 237. It's going to be too much ownership, but we're in the ballpark now. There's probably a way to save that around Anunoby if I had to guess. Yeah. How can we shave ownership around Anunoby? Or can we? No, we can't. It's too big of a gap. So it couldn't be Anunoby. I doubt it could be McBride. Yeah, it can't be McBride. It can't be Mitchell. We might be locked in here. Actually. Yeah, it's going to be giving up too much. If we turn Barnes into Brunson, can we turn Anunoby into something? Turn Anunoby into Bridges. Can we upgrade McBride? No. Can we upgrade Mitchell? We can from an ownership perspective. Oh, cool. 6 Knicks. Towns out, Barnes in. That takes me down to 198 and 218. We probably built this one already. -6. Guys, tough one. Tough one. Lazar had some struggles here. Maybe this all changes when we get news. Remember, Karl Anthony Towns is questionable. Campaign is questionable. 45-minute deeper dive, 45-minute live before lock tonight, but we still did an hour. So enjoy your Monday. Light work today. Keep your eyes peeled for the rest of the content. Hit that like button on your way out the door, guys. Tomorrow, we get to talk NBA Cup, which will be fun. Wednesday, we get to talk NBA Cup. I will not be on the deeper dive on Wednesday. So you'll get me for the strategy show and contenders. But after that, I got to go on a little 3-hour car ride because we got a new member of the family joining on Wednesday. New puppy gets here Wednesday night. Welcome to the Engleman household. Keith will be here soon. I'll talk to you guys later.